Yes, good afternoon people. Another quick video. I would like to address several significant developments currently taking place. Firstly, Nigel Farage's return to lead the Reform Party in the upcoming general election is noteworthy. Secondly, I would like to discuss Kier Starmer's management of the Diane Abbott situation. Additionally, the launch of George Galloway's Workers' Party of Britain and the independent candidates' election campaigns are topics of interest that warrant attention. Before I get into it, share, comment, like and subscribe. After months of speculation and Nigel Farage's insistence that he was only campaigning and was not going to stand in the general election for the Reform Party, now he has done a U-turn and decided to stand as the Reform Party's leader, touting he would be letting millions of people down if he didn't lead from the front. I make him right there, as he is seen as a saviour to some, while his views on immigrants, immigration and Muslims may be considered controversial or even racist. Some argue that he represents a significant portion of the population. It is worth noting that his alignment with the Reform Party initially contrasted with his subsequent involvement in Donald Trump's election campaign. This raised questions about his loyalty. He said, "If I'm elected MP for Clacton, it will be difficult but not impossible to help Donald Trump in the US." Farage, who has made previous unsuccessful runs for the British Parliament, this time there is a noticeable shift in sentiment as the nation grows weary of the status quo perpetrated by the two major political parties. People are seeking alternatives, recognising that regardless of who holds power, little seems to change. The rise of the Reform Party, the Workers' Party of Britain and the independent candidates has ignited hope amongst the British populace. However, in practical terms, these new contenders may only secure a limited number of seats, potentially leading to a hung parliament. Nonetheless, their presence could influence the outcome of the election. If I'm honest, I do not anticipate Nigel Farage to be elected as Member of Parliament for Clacton, given that the current Conservative MP, Giles Waitlin, holds a substantial majority of 23,000 votes. That means a significant shift in voter sentiment would be required to secure victory in that constituency. Asked what his ambitions were for the party in the polls, he told GB News, "I would hope within a week we're going to be equal with the Conservatives, or maybe ahead. And I think that's possible, because it won't be just the Tories switching, it will be Labour too." Mr Farage said that he would be at the helm of reform for the next 5 years and that he intended to lead a political revolt. Yes, a revolt, a turning of our backs on the political status quo. It doesn't work. Nothing in this country works anymore. The health service doesn't work. The roads don't work. None of our public services are up to scratch. We are in decline. This will only be turned around with boldness. The Conservatives accuse Mr Farage of doing exactly what Kier Starmer wants him to do, with a spokesman adding, "Farage knows that reform won't win any seats, but he doesn't seem to care that a vote for reform only helps Labour." People are fed up with the two cheeks of the same arse politics. It will be interesting to see how this plays out over the next few weeks. In other news, Kier Starmer suspended Diane Abbott from the Labour Party in April 2023 due to comments regarding racism. She remained under investigation until December 2023, when the verdict of the investigation was disclosed. When Kier Starmer was interviewed by Nigel Farage on LBC, he was asked if the investigation had been completed and will Diane Abbott have the whip restored. He answered, the investigation was still ongoing and would be sorted out soon. Maybe he forgot the investigation was completed in December 2023, over 6 months ago. Was this a genuine mistake or a brazen lie? I'll go with the latter, a brazen lie. Then last week it was announced Diane Abbott had had the whip restored. She then issued a statement on Wednesday morning saying she had been handed back the Labour whip after a months-long investigation into her conduct, but would not be allowed to stand as a Labour candidate for Hackney and Stoke Newington, where she has been a MP for 37 years and as a 33,000 majority. Kier Starmer denied that Diane Abbott had been banned from standing as a Labour MP at the next election. The left-wing Labour's members group, Momentum, said, "This is outrageous news, which confirms that Starmer's leadership is trying to force Britain's first black woman MP out of Parliament." SNP MP John Nicholson also criticised Starmer over the news, writing on social media, "Appalling treatment of Diane Abbott by Sir Kier Starmer and the Labour leadership team. And yes, we remember how he treated the 56 Labour MPs who voted for the Gaza ceasefire motion. Big majorities lead to arrogant governments. If they're this bad in opposition, what is he going to be like if they get power?" Claudia Webb, who was elected as a Labour MP but like Abbott now sits as an independent, said Labour is no longer party for due process, fairness or justice. Its treatment of Diane Abbott is racism to the core. The regulation and control of black people, especially black women on the left, they should hang their heads in shame. National contributor Owen Jones said, "Kier Starmer has repeatedly told the public that the investigation into Diane Abbott is ongoing, so he can't get involved. That turns out to be another lie. Meanwhile, his allies have been protected for behaviour ranging from racism to sexual harassment. Others have called it a purge of the left." The Labour Party's treatment of Diane Abbott is deeply concerning, considering her nearly 40 years of service as a Labour MP and her historic role as the first black female MP. This incident only adds to the existing doubts about the party's integrity during the current election campaign and raising questions about the trustworthiness of Kier Starmer. It is noteworthy that this is not an isolated incident. Kier Starmer's past behaviour towards colleagues such as former leader Jeremy Corbyn has also been called into question for its lack of respect. However, despite initially being barred from standing in the general election, in a move characteristic of Kier Starmer, he ultimately yielded to pressure and granted her permission to run in the general election for Hackney and Stoke Newington. In my opinion, Kier Starmer didn't want Diane Abbott to stand in the general election, hence why he didn't inform her the investigation was concluded back in December 2023. Did he relent because of outside pressure? Or was this solely his decision? I would have had more respect for him if he had stuck to his guns and said, "No, you can't stand." Now it seems like another time that Kier Starmer has been swayed by public opinion. In other words, he flip-flopped. Faisal Shaheen, who was to contest the Chingford and Woodford Green seat held by Ian Duncan Smith, has quit the Labour Party and is now free to stand as an independent after she was suspended for liking a tweet that criticised Israel and its actions in Gaza. It's a dictatorship. It's a dictatorship. Miss Shaheen resigned after the decision to block her name became official today when Labour's National Executive Committee, the NEC, declined to nominate her. She said she had been penalised for describing her own experiences of Islamophobia, as she hit out at what she said was a hierarchy of racism in the party. She added, "I cannot in all conscience continue to contribute to a party that seems to think so little of people like me and has moved so far away from my values." In the Labour Party campaign launch, Kier Starmer reiterated that the Labour Party was a change party. I respectfully disagree with the notion that Labour has undergone significant change. To me, it appears that the only noticeable change is the potential consequence of expressing a viewpoint contrary to that of Kier Starmer, with suspension or expulsion from the party. You've got to be able to express your views, even if they're different from the party leader. This shift could be interpreted as Labour adopting a more authoritarian stance. On the campaign trail, Angela Rayner, the Labour Party's deputy leader, speaking to voters in her Ashton underlined seat and thanking them for getting her over the line at the election in 2019. She was literally begging for their vote, as her seat is in danger, as she only holds a 4,000 majority. She said, "A Labour government would have limited influence in changing the situation in Gaza." And she knew the people are angry about the growing humanitarian disaster in Gaza. She added, "I promise you that if Labour gets into power, we will recognise the Palestinian state. I would resign today if it meant the conflict in Gaza would end." I am sceptical about the timing and authenticity of Angela Rayner's recent statement, coming as it does 7 months after the event. Her words are an attempt to garner support from the Muslim community, who she alienated with her stance on Gaza. Now she wants their help in the upcoming election. I say it's too little, too late. On Saturday, George Galloway's Workers' Party of Britain launched its campaign in Greater Manchester with a predominantly Gaza-based speech. Mr. Galloway hopes to unseat Angela Rayner, and if all predictions are proved correct, she will be Deputy Prime Minister. He was asked, "What do you know about Ashton as a town and a community?" He focused on both Angela Rayner and his Workers' Party candidate Aroma Hassan, describing Angela Rayner as the most shameless political leader. He added, "If they remade Shameless, she'd be in it." Okay, no. George Galloway is a specialist in the one-liners. You've got to give him that, seriously. On Ashton, he said, I know that Arama Hassan will be a tremendous breath of fresh air for this town. And I know that Angela Rayner has done bugger all for Ashton-under-Lyne. Absolutely bugger all. George Galloway won the Rochdale by-election on the back of what's happening in Gaza, and he's fighting the general election with the events in Ghana being his main focus. The reporter asked him, "What would you say to people who describe your politics as divisive?" Flanked by dozens of people, including Councillor Khan, the MP for Rochdale added, "I'll tell you what causes divisions in communities. Members of Parliament supporting genocide. Standing up to genocide is not divisive. Supporting genocide is divisive. And that's the charge which Labour makes out of desperation. As long as Gaza is burning and children are having their heads blown off, limbless children are being carried out of collapsed buildings, Gaza is going to be a major issue in this election. Even if for a short period the guns fall silent, memories what everyone has seen will last forever." He claimed since the Rochdale by-election win, the Workers' Party of Britain is 4 times bigger than it was 100 days ago. If we can get 200,000 votes across the country, we move up to the Premier League in parliamentary terms. We want to make a difference to the British political scene, which is sunk in a kind of depression. He added, "If you vote for the lesser of two evils, evil always wins. So vote for the Worker Party of Britain or any of the independent candidates. Don't vote for the genocide enablers." And I'll end with this. This upcoming election is widely recognised as one of the most pivotal in recent memory. Our nation stands at a critical juncture with our political landscape deeply divided. While it may seem that the two main parties are indistinguishable, sharing the same views on numerous issues, the outcome of this election will undoubtedly shape the direction of our country for years to come. If Labour emerges victorious, as many predict, it could signify a continuation of the status quo. Same arse, different cheeks. I anticipate that Nigel Farage of the Reform Party, George Galloway, Workers' Party of Britain, and Jeremy Corbyn running as an independent candidate will secure seats. Let us remain hopeful that their collective success will be sufficient to bring about a meaningful impact. Thanks for watching. Share, comment, like and subscribe. Out of here.